first real account जे माने आखि देखे account है Tavernier. से जो टावर्नियर बोली जॉन बाप्ती टावर्नियर सी जो फ्रेंच लोक से गोटे नॉर्मल गोटे जेम ट्रेडर जेम मर्चेंट ही बिकॉज ही वाज जो जेम ट्रेडर ही डिड 6 ट्रिप्स द एंटायर लाइफ रे 6 ट्रिप्स रे से सबू माने तांकर पूरा अच्छी से को जगह जाइछ तो ସେଥିରେ ସେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି କ'ଣ ସେ ସବୁ ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଟ୍ରାଭେଲ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ସେତେବେଳେ ସମ୍ବଲପୁର ଦେଖିଛନ୍ତି ସେ ସମ୍ବଲପୁର ବିଷୟରେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ମୋଷ୍ଟ ଏନ୍ସିଏଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ଅଲ୍ ଦ ଡାଇମଣ୍ଡ ମାଇନ୍ସ। Namaskar, I'm Preeta. Welcome all of you today to this presentation about Hirakud. We are chasing stories known and forgotten about the Hirakud of today, but more so the Hirakud of yesterday, and why the name carries so much of secrets in it and the reason behind the naming of Hirakud. So let's start. As all of you know, Hirakud today in the present times is known for being the world's longest earthen dam. But in the past, Hirakud was synonymous with the place for diamonds. Hirakud, the name itself translates to a diamond mound, the mound that was really a gravel bar of the Mahanadi river. And in the past, it was known for being the prominent source of diamonds and gemstones, even the ones which were exported to ancient Rome. A real-life treasure island Hirakud was. In today's presentation, you can expect me talking about a lot of records and mentions about Hirakud from the colonial times, then the key regions associated with the diamonds, understanding the geology about the diamonds and the availability in these regions, the ancient process of mining diamonds in this region, the fate of the diamond mining post-colonial times, then some snapshots into the past in Sambalpur, and finally, taming and harnessing the power of Mahanadi via the Hirakud Dam. So starting with the presentation, I would like to tell you a little about how the names are recorded in colonial times records and books. So before we go into our further slides, this one is very important to remember, especially for the researchers among us or people who are inquisitive to know more about their past and history and who like to read and research more with the original works of scholars, travelers, memoirs, books by geologists and all, but from like 200 or 300 years ago, what you would find is that a particular name that is pronounced or written or spelled right now would have featured in a different spelling in those past records or books. It was mainly because many of these books or texts or records were written by non-natives of Odisha, mainly Europeans who heard and perceived the native name from Odisha and recorded it as best as they could using the Roman alphabet. So, for example, Sambalpur might have featured as Sumelpur, Sumelpur, Sambalpur, 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 or even Jumalpur. Now that Jumalpur, why I brought here is in one of the accounts about an important memoir by Tavernier, it talks about Jumalpur. But this Jumalpur is the same Samalpur. How I have put it here to make you understand is that this is a printout, it's a screenshot of a page from a book which was printed during the 17th century. So during that time, the fonts, the typecasts that were used, sometimes the S seemed as a J. Some of the S's looked like S, but some S's looked like a stylus J. So maybe in the later centuries when somebody had transcribed it into handwritten notes and then further printed it, it might have gotten, the S might have gotten to be a J and Samalpur became a Jumalpur. Same thing goes for Hirakud. We call it Hirakud, but in the colonial memoirs and books, it also features as Hirakund or Hirakund. So although these are all different spellings, they all talk about the same place. So we need not be worried about the difference in the spellings and all when we are looking at the records of those past times. So now let's move on to the actual records and mentions about the diamonds of Sambalpur. And this records or mentions go back as far back as 2000 years ago to the great Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire. So from the ancient Roman Empire, two of the important names like Pliny the Elder and Ptolemy, they have mentioned about the diamond trading that Rome did with India. And in fact, there were debates in the Roman Senate about the wealth, that was spent, the Roman gold that was spent to buy diamonds and other luxurious items from India, which was making a big dent on the Roman economy. So these diamonds were the main source of these diamonds were Sambalpur. Later on, as Tavernier has mentioned, and even Ptolemy has mentioned in his book, that we will see in little, like the one next slide, we will go into details about it. So I'll just mention the main people whose texts and records have been used to make this presentation, and which you can also refer to if you go into like different libraries or archives. You can find the papers and books by these names. So Ptolemy, Tavernier, then John Phillips' work of the first English translation of Tavernier's works, Thomas Mott. During the 17th century, it was Tavernier and Phillips. Then in 18th century, Thomas Mott, Edward Gibbon, Mr. Rennell. In the 19th century, there were a lot of Europeans who wrote about the diamonds of Sambalpur, starting from Henry Voysey, P. Breton, Lieutenant Kitto, Major Owsley, Captain Newbold, Mr. Emmanuel, Professor Blochman, Colonel Dalton, and most important of all, Dr. Valentine Ball, who was the chief of the Geological Survey of India. And his two important books give us a lot of insight into how it was about the diamonds and gold and other coal fields and other geological resources of India. Later on, Mackrindle did a translation of Ptolemy's works, so we find more, details about the ancient Roman translated into English. Further, in the 20th century, also we find a lot of gazettes and Asiatic Society journals, papers by different authors about the same diamonds of Sambalpur. Now going to the first one, which is let's take the most ancient one that had been recorded or that we find, Ptolemy's records from his Geographia. Ptolemy mentions the name of 4 rivers, Manada, Tindis, Dosaran, and the Adamas. Now Adamas is a Greek word which means diamonds. So that means river Adamas means the diamond bearing river. So Ptolemy didn't visit all the places that he wrote about. He curated all his facts from travelers who came to Babylonia, to Alexandria, and other explorers and geographers or others who have recorded. So he had curated and heard and researched about this, and he knew of this diamond river. That's why diamond river means in the banks of which or in the beds of which diamonds were procured or diamond mining was done from the river. So that's why that particular name, he mentions it as Adamas River. In the further centuries, when people they decoded Ptolemy's work into English, many scholars have associated these names of the rivers with Mahanadi, Brahmani, and some of the tributaries of Mahanadi and Brahmani. So that was from Ptolemy. And Ptolemy's and ancient Rome's diamond trade with Sambalpur was corroborated by Edward Gibbon from England. He wrote a very informative book called History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire in the 18th century. And in that he mentions about the ancient Roman Empire was supplied with diamonds from the mine of Sambalpur. Sambalpur is nothing but Sambalpur. Now we come to one of the other next very, very significant works, which was done with first-hand accounts by a gem merchant and jeweler from France. So all his memoirs were in French, and he visited India 6 times. He made 6 trips from France to India between the year 1630 and 1668. In his last trip to India, he actually has talked about his visit to Sambalpur. So he says, I now come to the third mine, which is the most ancient of all, by the name Sambalpur, which is a large town near to which the diamonds are found. Now, before, in his other trips, he has visited the other diamond mines that were in action at that time when he was in India. That was in 17th century. But after visiting everything and seeing Sambalpur, he calls it as the most ancient of all the diamond mines that were in India. So now this is a corroborating evidence clearly indicating that this was the mine from which most of the ancient diamond trades were done with Europe or ancient Roman Empire, because this is one of the most ancient of them all. He also says that those who are experts know that the sand contains diamonds. When they find small stones in it which resemble those we call as thunderstones. In Odia we have a word called as kuapathara. So like that, the thunderstones or hailstones in English as it is called, that size and shape of diamonds he writes about. His works were in the future, in the 19th century, from French it was translated to English, because of which we can know more about his memoirs. We can read it in English. If we fast forward to the year 1766, that is 18th century, after Tavernier's work, after Tavernier's visits and the his popularizing the diamonds and gemstones of India in Europe, like he was a trader, he regularly traded, he procured the gemstones and diamonds from here and went to Europe. He sold it to the royalty and the other rich people, and in European circles the gemstones, like India was synonymous with all these precious jewels and gemstones. So people already had a quite vivid imagination about India. So a lot of prospectors and writers and explorers were very keen and eager to explore more about it. So in the meantime, there might have been other people who also visited, but the one which I want to highlight here is in the year 1766, when Battle of Plassey had already been over and Bengal had been taken over by the East India Companies. Like company rule had come, and Robert Clive had become the de facto governor of Bengal. And by that time, the East India Company had a lot of power, and as the governor of Bengal, Clive was becoming more and more powerful, more and more rich because of his shady dealings and receiving a lot of money from the local nawabs and like other tradesmen and other corrupt practices which he had. So he had a lot of wealth which he wanted to take to England, but without paying the tax or without declaring it to the crown. So he was quite a wily person, and his scheming mind got a chance when in the year 1766, the then ruler of Sambalpur by the name Raja Abhay Singh, he sent a gift of a 16-carat diamond to Clive. Now, why did Raja Abhay Singh send a diamond to Clive? Because of the then political turmoils which were happening in Odisha and western part of Odisha at that time. Odisha was under many parts of Odisha had come under the Burgi Maratha rule, and the Marathas, the way they were exerting, extra tax and other inconveniences to the to the population and to the local rulers and all, was getting worse by each day. And at that particular time, when Raja Abhay Singh thought of sending, he thought that maybe it would be better to have a friendship with the powerful governor of East India Company, who was the governor of Bengal. So with that intention, he had sent the diamond, and seeing that, Clive was very his mind got an idea. His brain, he schemed that if such a diamond prospect is there so nearby, like from Calcutta, Sambalpur is not far, and if they can trade in diamonds with Sambalpur, then via these diamonds they could, like he could at least, change his ill-gotten money and send it as the diamonds to England. So for this purpose, he approached the then superintendent of police in Calcutta by the name of Thomas Mott, and he asked him. He said that let's do a joint venture, a joint speculation, in which Thomas Mott got 1/3 of the profits and Clive would keep 2/3 of the profit. But for that, Thomas Mott would go to Sambalpur first to explore the area, find out more about the diamond mining there. So, with that intention, Thomas Mott agreed and he went to the diamond mines. And he has written beautifully, like he has a narrative of a journey to the diamond mines at Sambalpur in the province of Odisha. So in that he has in detail he has explained his journey, and in which he also says about how after a lot of negotiation, only after that he was permitted to go to the junction of the Ebe River and Mahanadi, where the people used to do the diamond mining. Then again we will, because here I am like cherry picking only some of the mentions, like there are many more mentions and records available. I'm cherry picking only some of the important ones. So let's come to the next two which I have picked for you. One by Major Owsley in the year 1840. He had published a paper called Process of Washing for Gold Dust and Diamonds at Hirakud in the Asiatic Society Journal. He writes, the Hirakud is that part of the river which runs south of the islands. The diamonds and gold dust are to be washed down the Ebe River about 4 miles above the Hirakud. He gives the specific place where it was happening. Then Valentine Ball, Dr. Ball says in the center of the Mahanadi near Junan, there is an island called Hirakud which is about 4 miles long, and for that distance separates the waters of the river into 2 channels. So now we can actually visualize how Hirakud would have looked and where it was exactly. So 4 miles long, and for that distance the water is separated into 2 channels. He also mentions several villages in which the word Hira occurs. Hira means diamond, may have reference to some long forgotten distillery. So whenever there was a village name with something with Hira as a prefix or suffix, that means that village, that those villagers had successfully done diamond mining in some of those areas, and maybe they got those villages as a grant. We will know more about it in a later slide. Then even Dr. Ball also mentions about the Icha River in Gangpur, which is a tributary of the Ebe, and it's believed to have been the site of diamond washings. He says, I have, however, myself heard the Ebe near its sources spoken of as the Hira River. So Ebe itself as the diamond river, or Ebe as the Hira River. So Dr. Ball also mentions Dalimple's Oriental Repertory from 1808, like again one more earlier paper where such mentions were made. So if you actually read Dr. Valentine Ball's book, like there are 2 books by him. I have put it in the, like here you can see the source. Even at the end I have given you a source of all the books. If you actually read those books, you will get a very detailed description of everything that was happening then and which had happened before in those areas. Then we talked about all these mentions and records that we find about diamonds, and all of them are talking about diamonds from the river, from Mahanadi or from Ebe and the other tributaries. Now, commonly when we think about diamonds, we think about mines, and mines means we think about a deep, hole or something. Then people go down and then they do mining and all. Hardly people would associate diamond mining with rivers, but the truth is that alluvial diamonds are some of the biggest deposits of diamonds that have been mined by people. And prior to the 20th century, especially 20th century means before the 1900s, Like till the 1800s, most of the diamonds that were found in the world were from alluvial deposits, and most of these alluvial diamonds were from India. And as you saw in some of those records, many of these Indian alluvial diamonds, the most ancient was from the Sambalpur region. Now, what are alluvial diamonds? Where are they found? They're found in riverbed deposits, but although they are found in the river or the riverbed, are not formed there. The place of origin is different. They're formed somewhere else. The original host rock of this alluvial diamond is most commonly a kimberlite or a lamproite pipe. And these lamproite or kimberlites are found in ancient cratons. Now, what are cratons? We will learn about it a little later. Just bear with me. The diamonds are transported from their original source by getting eroded from the primary host rock by the river. Then these are transported by the rivers to their secondary deposits, such as near the river bends or corners, behind boulders, or even on gravel beds and gravel bars, which are called as placer deposits, like a kudda. So Hirakud is nothing but a mound or a gravel bar. So in these various different types, alluvial diamonds are found in the river, near the river bed, or at certain positions. So what is the morphology of the riverine system that brings in these alluvial diamonds? So rivers that run through rocks which are rich in primary gemstone deposits, they tend to carry such stones in their water stream. Along their course, the rivers deposit them in different ways. We just saw that in the previous slide. They are deposited in the river bends or corners or behind boulders and obstacles. Especially in all these places, the river current and the flow will be slower, allowing the denser material to settle or the minerals to settle down. And at certain places, as placer deposits are with gravel beds and gravel bars, which are natural accumulation points where dense materials are concentrated, as you know, pebbles, rocks, and stuff like that. Then let's see the Mahanadi river system, about which all these ancient records were talking about the diamonds of Mahanadi, or diamonds at Hirakud in Mahanadi. So the river Mahanadi, along with some of its tributaries, specifically around Sambalpur, Sonpur, Bargarh Bodh, used to be known for superlative gemstones, not just diamonds, but pebbles of diamonds, beryl, topaz, carbuncle, amethyst, carnelian, clear quartz, and many more things. So in this you see the catchment areas of the Mahanadi. Some of it is in the Chhattisgarh region and some of it is in Odisha. So bordering the Mahanadi, some of its tributaries come from Jharkhand, also like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, and these areas come under the Singhbhum Craton. Like Craton, we will just learn about in a little on another slide. So just remember, this one is a Singhbhum Craton near Jharkhand, and flanking here Chhattisgarh is the Bastar Craton. Now cratons are geological terms for certain, like, you know, the surface, the continental surface, their ancient surfaces. So why these are important, why the Mahanadi's presence, the rift of the Mahanadi valley, where it is present along these cratons, how it is important for gemstones, we will see. Along with Mahanadi, also the Brahmani river system has been mentioned by certain scholars. They say that even in the diamonds and gemstones are found in the Koel and Sunk tributaries of the Brahmani river. Now Koel and Sunk tributaries, they come from the Jharkhand area, so the Singhbhum Craton. Now, what are cratons? I have been telling this word again and again, mentioning about this. Cratons are sources of alluvial diamonds, also we mentioned in another previous slide. Now, what are cratons? They are ancient, stable, continental cores. These cores of continental cores, that means the earth, the rocky surface of the earth, which are ancient continental cores, they host primary gemstone deposits like kimberlites for diamonds. So the Singhbhum Craton, which is in the Singhbhum area in present-day Jharkhand, It's a vast swathe of rocky land that stretches mainly across Jharkhand and Odisha between the Chotnagpur Plateau and the Eastern Ghats. Now, understanding about cratons and about especially about a Singhbum and Basta craton takes us back to the most ancient times of our formation of Earth and its continents. So, remembering school geography, if you remember Gondwana land, the term when the everything was like the big African continent. With that, India was joined, and then it separated, and then it slowly moved away. So Gondwana land, the Africa, India, Australia, South America, Antarctica, all those which were joined together, they drifted apart from each other, and they all moved separately. Africa stayed there, but India went and it joined with the Asian plate there. So here we see these are all very, very ancient continental plates, like from the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana land. And these events which happened caused a lot of strong geological changes, and with that, all these ancient cratons which are found in the different areas of Gondwana in present day, like Africa has certain parts of it, India, Australia, Antarctica, and South America, they have this kimberlite and lamproite sources because of such severe and strong changes which happened, which led to the formation of diamonds, and being in these particular cratons especially. So in India, the Dharwad craton, Bastar craton, and Singhbum craton are important, and both Singhbum and Bastar have kimberlites and lamproites. So before moving into anything else, let's just quickly see how diamonds are formed. What are diamonds? Diamonds are nothing but it's pure carbon, and they form deep within the upper mantle of the earth. They crystallize in the earth's crust, very deep under the earth's crust, under conditions of extreme heat and pressure. These processes occur over millions of years, often with high pressure environments associated with mountain building events, magmatic activities, like huge geological changes. Such processes also, like such as the volcanic eruptions or tectonic movements, they also facilitate the upward movement of and the transportation of such gem bearing stones. So from deep within the earth, they are pushed onto the surface of the earth. So on the surface, like in the subsurface area, all these rocks and deposits, mineral deposits are there, which have seen such violent geological events. So out of such rocks, some of the igneous rocks, they change because of extreme heat and pressure, or a combination of such activities, and these igneous rocks change into metamorphic rocks. Sometimes some sedimentary rocks also change into metamorphic rocks. So diamonds are some such rocks. Some types of diamonds, if you see according to the sources, there are alluvial diamonds, which you find as deposits in the rivers. Then the primary or pipe diamonds, these are the ones which we think as the diamond mines, where actually the diamond is mined from those deep kimberlite shafts or mines deep from the earth's surface, like they are very deep holes, like those contain the sources of the diamond. And marine diamonds are again the type of sedimentary diamonds or the alluvial diamonds which are from the oceans, like how we find alluvial diamonds in the rivers. Similar process happens, and we can find diamonds in the ocean. So I was telling you about the kimberlite pipes and how the explosion and other things cause the diamond formation, and then alluvial diamonds are brought and deposited in the rivers and oceans. You can see a quick, some pictures and diagrams related to that. In here it shows you some of the kimberlite presences in the world, but if you see another picture, you see the global kimberlite occurrences all over the world, and some you see in the Indian subcontinent also. So after looking at all like how diamond is formed, what is alluvial diamond, what are cratons, what are metamorphic rocks, now we all have a fair idea about the geology part of it. Now let's get back again to our records, which were written by a geologist, by an eminent geologist, the same Dr. Valentine Ball, where he is talking more in geological terms. So what he talks about is from the general lithological resemblance of the sandstones and shales of the Bodapahar hills and the outliers at Burla with the diamond bearing beds and their associates at Panna in Bhandelkhand and Banganpalli in Kurnool, I have very little hesitation in pointing to these rocks as in all probability, including the matrix. That means above Padampur, the Mahanadi runs through rocks of this age. So with this, he talks about the rocks and beds through which the Mahanadi is flowing, being the beds of bearing such diamond-bearing rocks, such metamorphic rocks, and such rocks which are full of precious gemstones and other deposits. In his book, he also gives an illustration about the gold washers on a tributary of the river Mahanadi. So, gold washing was also quite prominent in many of the rivers of India, including some of the river tributaries of Mahanadi and Subarnarekha, Brahmani. So, some traditional gold washing procedure he has illustrated here in his book. Dr. Ball further writes that Hirakud, where the diamonds were washed, is on metamorphic rocks, may readily be explained by the physical features of the ground. The rocky nature of the bed there and the double channel caused by the island afforded unusual facilities for the retention of the diamonds and for the operations by which the bed could on one side be laid bare and gravel washed by the simple contrivances by the natives. So he says that like the way the position of Hirakud, the rocky nature of the bed, how it was, so it was easy like for the deposition there when it comes from the upper beds of the Mahanadi, and also the way the area was, it was easy for the people to to take it out from one side, and the gravel can be washed on the other side, which was the traditional way of washing the sand to extract diamonds. We will see that in the details of it is already recorded by Tavernier in the 17th century. The same gemstone, the jeweler and merchant who came, he has given a very detailed description of how the locals were harvesting or mining the diamonds. So what he says was that around the end of the month of January, between January and March, the river Mahanadi and the tributaries, they become very low in water. So water level is not more than 2 feet deep at that time. And much of the sand is left uncovered. The people go and search for diamonds in the river at the town of Sambalpur and proceed upstream to the mountains where it takes its rise, which is about 50 kosa from the town. In the places where they believe that there are diamonds, these people, they excavate the sand only to 2 feet deep, not more than that. So after that, what they do is they encircle these places with stakes, like sticks and fashions and clay, to remove all the water from there and dry the spot. Something how they do when building the pier of a bridge, like in the modern times. Now all the sand from there is carried out and spread upon a large space prepared on the banks of the river. They surround this space with a low wall which is 1.5 foot high or about that high, and then they make holes at the base of that. What they do is after that is they fill the enclosure with a lot of sand, as much sand as they think it is required. They throw water upon it, wash it, break it, and afterwards they follow the same procedure to to mine the diamonds, how it had been done traditionally for centuries altogether. In a publication in 1908 in the Imperial Gazetteer of India, they talk about the people who used to do this diamond mining, the local people of Sambalpur area. They were called as Jarias or Jiras or Jaras. in the local language. And during the time when Sambalpur was under native rule, before the colonial rule, diamonds were obtained in Hirakud. Gold was also obtained in some quantity after the sand washing. So the Jiras who were fortunate to find the valuable stone were rewarded by being given a village or grants of land in exchange of the stones they found. They would give the stones to the ruler, to the king. In exchange of that, the king would reward them with villages to those people, and they could live there rent free, and they could then not worry about other things. So because they had the villages and lands to their name. But during the British rule, like till the local rule, like the Raja's rule, such diamonds were still found in Sambalpur area, and lot of instances are there even in the gazetteers and Asiatic Society journals papers. They write about how even the locals of Sambalpur were also owners of certain, like heavy, high quality diamonds in those days. Not just the rulers, sometimes some merchants, even some local people of, like some wealthier people of that area, they also had. Even in the Maratha times also, there were records or the stories of big diamonds being found. So because of all these, and as you know, the psychology of people, like when there is something so precious, especially diamond, has always fascinated people. So this area became infamously famous. I mean, the wrong sorts of people were attracted to such places. Earlier, these places were closely guarded. Even you remember that case of Mott, when Mott was going to explore these areas when he was sent by Clive. He was not shown that place also, or how they did. After a lot of negotiations, only he was taken to that place where people did the diamond mining. So it was a closely guarded thing with the locals. But slowly, over the period of time during during the Marathas and later during the colonial times, for whatever reasons, I think people got to know more and more about it. And also by that time, the output of diamonds from such washing the alluvial diamonds from this area had slowly gotten lesser and lesser as compared to the previous centuries. So what had happened is, during the British rule, the right to the mine to mine the diamonds, they thought that they would lease it to a certain private gentleman from a European. So he was leased that mine for 200 rupees. But the lessee had subsequently relinquished it because the stones which were mined from there were of poor quality, and he didn't get any, profits out of it. So from this, it is understood that by the early 20th century, this output of diamonds from that area had become lesser and lesser. Now, we are almost done with all our records and mentions and texts about diamonds. What the time period, what we were mentioning about, the time when Clive received a diamond from the Raja Abhay Singh of Sambalpur, and later on when during the colonial times, the English were already there in Sambalpur region. So we find certain beautiful paintings of Sambalpur. I just want to show you a snapshot of how Sambalpur have looked at in those times. So this is during the 1820s, how Sambalpur looked. It's from the Gilbert paintings. This is the fort at the Sambalpur fort on the banks of the Mahanadi. This is the Gilbert's bungalow. He was the political agent of Sambalpur. Like his painting collection, these are. So you can see, like, why I'm showing you this, you can see, have a fair idea how rocky and how rocky the beds of Mahanadi. Even then, like, it was even more wild and more untamed than it is now. This is the old palace in the fort at Sambalpur. I think now only one of these palaces are standing, the other two are not there. This is temple of Ma Samaleshwari in the fort. This is another temple in the some even in present day town Sambalpur town, how it looked in the 1820s. So we saw some of the pictures from 1820s. Now let's quickly touch upon the might of the river Mahanadi. Although the diamonds were not as much or as many by the turn of the 20th century, at the same time, Mahanadi, with its fury of floods, it was causing a lot of devastation among the public. There was a lot of loss of personal, life and cattle and other properties and all. So Mahanadi had to be tamed. By the turn of the 20th century, the then government and the political leaders, they were thinking how to tame this river so that it would we can lessen the wrath of the natural disasters happening here. And when Vishweshwaraya was invited, and he did his inspection and surveys and all, he proposed a dam to be built on the Mahanadi to tame its waters, at the same time which could produce hydroelectricity. So the dream of Hirakud was started, and the building of the Hirakud Dam, the foundation stone was laid on 15th March 1946. The first batch of concrete was laid on 12th April 1948. The dam was completed in 1953. And today, when I'm giving the presentation, I'm speaking from USA, and it is 13th January here still, although in India it has become 14th. So very strangely, when I was doing the slides today, I realized that Hirakud was formally inaugurated on 13th January 1957. So we are actually looking at a place and talking about it on the anniversary of it having been inaugurated. 68 years ago, I think, around 68 years ago. So those are some vintage pictures of when Hirakud was being built. And after it was built in full glory, now Hirakud is the longest earthen dam in any part of the world. It is the longest earthen dam in the whole world. And this is a picture of Hirakud on one of the old 100 rupee notes. So with Hirakud, what happened was many villages were submerged under the reservoir waters. And with it, this area had always been very rich in history and culture and monuments and temples. So many ancient temples got submerged under the waters. So whenever the water level gets low because of the summer season or something, some of the temples peep out from the waters of the Mahanadi or the reservoir. So, this is a thing which had to happen, but altogether Mahanadi was tamed, and a lot of hydroelectricity, the power which was generated has and for irrigation, for electricity, a lot of things, positive things have happened with the Hirakud Dam being built. Now let's come to the big question. We are almost at the end of our talk today, presentation today. Now the big question: why don't we find such diamonds in these regions now as it was few centuries ago? Now this question came to me when I came to know about Hirakud being the diamond mound, and the name Hirakud itself had the key, because it was the place for diamonds. So if it were the place for diamonds, why are there no diamonds? We never hear of any diamonds or anything like that. So the most probable answer from a science perspective would be, all such alluvial diamonds are non-renewable resources. They are not resources, non-renewable things, and they're finite. They're not infinite. That means the amount of such stones or such minerals or deposits which had diamonds or these metamorphic rocks has been already mined for centuries and centuries altogether, and because of which the quantity, the presence of it has become so low. So it is very rare to find good gemstones or diamonds from particularly these rivers right now. And another Another answer would be, who knows, the how we see the ancient temples being submerged by the Mahanadi reservoir and the Hirakud. Who knows, there might be some little kudas which have been submerged under this big reservoir, which still might have hidden some stones and gemstones, diamonds from the past. But who knows now? It is all in the depths of the reservoir. So but although all these were depleted, as you many of you would have heard these words of Emily Dickinson: hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings in the tunes without the words and never stops at all. So we live with hope. Eternal hope is something that drives us, like it gives us wings even in the bleakest of days. So with that, we see even now there are modern day prospecting continues in many of these regions. People still employ those age old techniques of sieving and separating the sand and water and all. They still try to push their luck and see if they can find anything, and maybe they're finding, I'm not sure. Like, we don't see a lot of publications or news articles about those, but who knows, somebody might get lucky in the future. So now with this, I come to the end of this presentation, this talk, and here I have put all the very, very essential, the resources what will help you know more about diamonds and Sambalpur and Hirakud. Like these particular references, many of them can be downloaded directly, and some of them are available in certain libraries around bigger universities. I have some of the papers with me and other books, PDFs. So if you are interested to know more, please write to me on the email globalodia, GLOBALODIAA, like 2 A's at the end, at gmail.com. Or any other questions, please write to me. I would be glad to help. Or with this video being uploaded on Kalinga Itihas, thanks to Kalinga Itihas team. I'm very grateful to the team for letting me present this talk, very dear to me, because I had been always fascinated by this name and wanted to present it. So anybody wants to know more about it, write in the Kalinga Itihas YouTube upload comment section or email me. Thank you. Namaskar. Jai Jagannath.